We are hard off the banks of the Great Miami River. One of the NCAA tournament's favorite venues, the University of Dayton, for the first time today, becomes the host city for the Atlantic 10 tournament. Quarterfinal action begins with the overall top seed #1. From Xavier, the Musketeers take on the Colonials of George Washington in game 1 of our quarterfinal action coming up next. And hi again, everybody. I'm Larry Rosen, high atop Blackburn Court here at the University of Dayton Arena. Never before has the Atlantic 10 quarterfinals set up quite this well. They're the quintessential quarters with 3 nationally ranked teams and a couple wearing Cinderella slipper as well. We'll begin working the bracket in the top left-hand corner where the overall #1 seeds from Xavier take on the Colonials of George Washington for the right to play the winner of game #2. It's Richmond and Temple in game 2 of our quarterfinal action. The National Player of the Year likely to be David West of the Xavier Musketeers. His talent's on display along with the overall top seeds as we send you down to our talented duo on courtside. It's Scott Graham and John Griffin. Gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much, Larry. Now, Xavier comes in here as a defending champion, a 15-game win streak, John. Only Kentucky's won more games in a row this year. But 12 days ago, that streak almost ended at the hands of GW.
Well, Scott, once the ball is tossed at center court, bracket and seeding really doesn't matter. I spoke to both coaching staffs this afternoon. Both are looking forward to this game. Xavier has great respect for George Washington, and that bitter loss of just 2 weeks ago is in the forefront of George Washington's minds. They are young, but they have no fear.
Well, the one guy that they certainly could fear and maybe should fear is the guy who once again is the player of the year in the Atlantic 10 Conference. David West, a 3-time winner, and here's why.
Well, he's All-American. He's All-Atlantic 10, over 20 points a game, over 11 rebounds a game. But that stat at the bottom of the screen, 66 career double-doubles. He has been unstoppable in the paint, unstoppable from scoring points. He has just mastered the low post. And teams have tried a variety of things to try to stop him, but he's improved and rounded out his game by scoring away from the basket. And at crunch time, he is the man that's going to come up with the big play as he did 2 weeks ago against George Washington.
That miracle tip-in and a 1-point Xavier win in a controversial finish. Now, that's one of the reasons that GW's got to feel very confident coming in. They just lost to Xavier by 1 point on their home court. Another reason they feel confident is because they've got a weapon of their own in scoring machine Chris Monroe.
Well, as the Xavier coach is called Chris Monroe, he is the X factor at the guard position. He can reliably get you 20 points a game. He's knocking down threes. He's rebounding the basketball. He's finishing his career as the all-time leading scorer in George Washington's history. He's a power guard. He can score going to the basket, away from the basket, beyond the arc. And in this last game against Xavier, it looked like he had the winning field goal. He wants the ball at the critical point in the game.
So the title defense begins now for the Xavier Musketeers, trying to hang on to the trophy and take their rightful place again as champions in the Atlantic 10. The venue, the University of Dayton Arena for the kickoff of our coverage today. It's GW and Xavier next. Ready to begin, entering this arena and coming in with a wave of emotion here this afternoon as we begin quarterfinal action here in the Atlantic 10 Championship with the George Washington Colonials taking the floor today, trying to pull the upset. And up front here is how they look. Mike Hall along with Tamal Forshawn and Pops Mensah Bonsu. That is a big front court for Karl Hobbs in his 2nd season at the helm as the George Washington head coach, the 2nd youngest head coach in the Atlantic 10 Conference at 41 years of age. Of course, Xavier is coached by the youngest, and they have got perhaps the most complete and deepest team on the floor. Sato West and Miles up front, Lionel Chalmers, and very talented freshman Diedrich Finn controlling the backcourt for Thad Matta. And what a record of success he has put together as a Xavier head coach. He's won 50 out of 60 games overall as a head coach, 74-18 for Thad Matta here in his 2nd season at the helm at Xavier. 2 first-teamers on the Atlantic 10 Conference Team of the Year that was announced last night, the Player of the Year West, and another first-teamer in senior Chris Monroe for George Washington. Xavier leads the all-time series 14-7. They have met twice in the Atlantic 10 tournament. Xavier defeated GW in the 1998 finals, but the last time they met in the tournament was 2001 in the quarterfinals. GW knocked Xavier out. And we are underway. The overall #1 seed wearing the home whites. GW in their traveling blue. Trying to get it inside. Defense will be a huge key for GW in this one. And they come up with an early turnover. quick ball movement against the Xavier defense that adjusts so well. Mensah-Bonsu inside, and the foul. Chance at a three-point play for Pops Mensah-Bonsu.
Well, that's a good sign for the Colonials. Good ball penetration, getting the ball into the lane. We're going to repeat this thought, I think, throughout this broadcast, that George Washington is a very young team. Its front court especially is all freshmen, except for Tamal Forshan right now. But you're going to see a bunch of young guys with thin upper bodies. Hobbs, Mensah-Bonsu, one of them, and Karl Hobbs very excited about the development of this young guy.
An early 3-0 lead for George Washington, but defense will truly be the key for the Colonials today. We'll talk about it, John, but the magic number in this game is 70 on the Xavier side of the ledger. Sato the miss. Great position, but look at David West over the top of Forshan. Another offensive rebound, but a takeaway for Chris Monroe.
A good active defense here by the Colonials.
Thompson. Early momentum all for the Colonials in a 6-0 lead.
And that last possession, Tamal Forshan actually had great defensive rebounding position. David West was somehow able to get that rebound from him. But as you start to see the start of this game, the Colonials right now coming out on the basketball court with absolutely no fear, taking the ball right at the Xavier Musketeers.
Sato too strong, but West got fouled on the way back up, and foul call will go against T.J. Thompson for George Washington. Now, John, I mentioned that number, at number 70. There's two reasons for it. Number one, GW, when they hold their opponent down this year to under 70 points, is 10-4. Xavier's lost 4 times this year. All 4 losses, they've scored fewer than 70 points.
When I spoke to Karl Hobbs right before this tip-off, he had mentioned 70 is a key number for his team. He's not worried about his team scoring points. He's really worried about containing Xavier and holding them under 70 points. I said, you sure you don't mean 71? He said, no, 70 is the magic number this afternoon.
David West, who is such a smooth free throw shooter, one of the tops in the Atlantic 10, gets Xavier on the board. And a nice screen. There's the extra pass, and Chalmers did a good job adjusting defensively. Monroe. That's what you mean by power guard. Can't hit the shot, however. Now Thompson will try it. Couple of threes for GW from the outside, and now a 9-2 run to begin the game for the Colonials.
Thompson just looks awfully confident, stroking the ball from beyond the arc. He's a 40% three-point shooter from beyond the arc. He's a guy that really leads this team in passing. Very offensive-minded early in this game.
Diedrich Finn, a little bit too strong there. And Thompson trying to win the race for the loose ball. It'll belong to GW. Now a rough start for Thad Mata's team, but they have been down early in games before this season and during the course of this streak. Forshan is coming on more and more as the year goes by. With the miss and another rebound for West. Sato, count it.
Good heads-up pass there by Chalmers to Sato. And one of the defensive miscues here, George Washington not quite quick enough getting back. Sato gets an easy basket and gets a chance to go to the foul line.
Sean called for the foul. Sato an 83% free throw shooter. But could not get the roll.
You know, it's interesting when you talk to coaches before the game and the kind of disposition that they have coming into the game. Karl Hobbs had talked about his team having absolutely no fear, looking forward to this matchup. As we said, they suffered a bitter loss here 2 weeks ago.
Finn rubbed off on the screen, and Thompson finds the open man. The ball thrown away. And now off a trip. No whistle. Musketeers hang on to the basketball. Good look inside. That's great big man passing from Anthony Miles to David West.
What a great compliment Miles is to David West. I think they both feed off of each other. So many times West is passing the ball to Miles. That time it happens in reverse.
Athletic move by Mensah-Bonsu, but the foul called on West. Well, he's going to get hit for his first.
Hobbs Mensah-Bonsu looks supercharged here. He is hyped. You know, before this game, I said to Karl Hobbs, who's going to guard David West? He said, that's the wrong question. Who's going to guard Hobbs Mensah-Bonsu? That's the way we're approaching this game.
Young freshman from London, England, averaging better than 10 points and 5 rebounds on the season. And he'll have one more try.
And actually, Sean Miller, one of the Xavier assistant coaches, talked to me about the athleticism of George Washington's front court players and how that may present some matchup problems.
And 1 out of 2 for Mensah-Bonsu. He'll leave the ball game now, and Omar Williams will come on to replace him.
It's a good look at Sean Miller. But again, there's some issues here for the Musketeers in terms of matching up, especially when Karl Hobbs goes to his bench with Omar Williams coming in the game.
Good size right out there on the trap. Sato split it in half. Now Chalmers for 3. No one there for the rebound. GW looking to run it ahead. Williams not going to go. West buying a triple team that leaves Sato open. Now it's Chalmers. And a little floater in the lane. All of a sudden, a Xavier team that was down 9-2 is within a basket. This is Monroe. 1 foot on the line, a 2-point jump shot for Chris Monroe.
I'll give you another part of the Xavier scouting report. Get back on defense. Defensive transition is something that they talk a lot about today. They want to get back and make sure they cover Chris Monroe, make sure they especially cover George Washington front court players.
Here's Sato again. Very active man defense here early for GW. Sato wide open. And he has not had the hot hand early.
If you notice, Scott, really no one's playing Sato.
What a great defensive play by Dedrick Finn. A 6'1" freshman comes down and snuffs for Sean. It'll be a held ball. It goes back to GW, and we come back. Terrific defensive play by the freshman, who is all over the floor all year long for the Musketeers. Superb leaping ability. And so far, it has been the early hot shooting of the Colonials of George Washington, trying to battle against the inside game of the Xavier Musketeers. The Colonials on top by 4.
Hey students, the Atlantic 10 shootout is coming back to your campus.
Early lead for the number 5 seed Colonials here in our first game of quarterfinal action today against number 10 Xavier, the overall number 1 seed. Take a look at these Colonials of George Washington. 12-16 overall, 4 out of their last 10. They're coming in off a win over UMass in the opening round of the Atlantic 10 tournament. The only charter member of the Atlantic 10 never to have won a championship title. They've made 2 appearances in the finals, 91 and 98. In 1998, it was Xavier that beat them. This is a team that has won 7 straight 20-win season. Right now, the number 10 team overall in the nation. 15 wins in a row. Only Kentucky at 20 this year has won more games consecutively. Cold shooting early on for the Musketeers. And Hall finds a seam in the middle of the Xavier defense for his first 2 of the game.
Well, Scott, that's the matchup problem that Xavier was concerned about. I feel that Mike Hall is a guy that's so versatile, it's difficult to find a good matchup.
There you see the quick passing. David West, who had a big game distributing the ball, 7 assists in the last Xavier win against Temple.
I think people really miss the point when they look at David West as a rebounder, shot blocker, and in the paint scorer. He is a point forward. Makes just so many good things happen when he touches the basketball.
Whistle blows, and the foul call is on Romain Sato. That'll be his first. Team foul number 3 for the Musketeers, and an inbound now for GW. Thompson and Hall working the outside. Williams, another freshman. The senior leader, Monroe, couldn't get it to sit down, and David West with another rebound, his 4th of the game. Now watch him go to work. Had it knocked free by Williams underneath as he was coming in, and he is going to earn a trip to the free throw line now, as that foul call will be on Omar Williams.
This is another good at the multi-dimensional abilities of David West. He actually caught the ball to reverse it on the secondary fast break. Then he caught the ball again and took his man to the basket from beyond the arc. And this is the thing that I think we've seen David West add to his game in the past year and a half. He is so difficult to guard because he's getting more and more comfortable putting the ball on the floor.
Saw the 2,000 points. He passed that mark against George Washington. That game 12 days ago. And now 6 points and 4 rebounds for West. And the Musketeers again back within a bucket. West spearheading the defense up near the top, and that's Williams. Not going to fall. Another rebound for West, his 5th. Keeping him off the glass would be a major priority for the Colonials here this afternoon.
When you think of George Washington's front court players, not only are they young, but they just really don't have the upper body strength to battle with David West.
And you just saw that right there as Williams gets hit for his 2nd foul. Orshon will come on to replace him. He's a guy who's got a little bit more bulk up there, but it's not only David West, it's Anthony Miles at 6'9", 245 that can kind of camp out down on the block and makes things tough defensively for GW, also trying to come away with a rebound.
And you can't forget about Romain Sato. He's just such an active offensive rebounder. Xavier really has 3 very solid rebounders.
Chalmers the miss. Well, you just said it. And Sato the putback with the foul, a chance to put Xavier in the lead.
Well, the Musketeers are one of the top 3 in the conference in rebounding, and you can see why. Romain Sato from outside the lane just skies. I mean, he just jumps over people to get those rebounds. They have a +6 rebounding margin, and when you look at West at 11, Sato at 7, and Miles at 6.5 rebounds a game, you can see why they are one of the best in the conference at their rebound margin.
Romain Sato's got 7. This is a partisan Xavier crowd as we're only 40 minutes up the road from Cincinnati. And they finally get an opportunity to see the Musketeers with the lead. Thompson setting up for Sean. Right to the belly of the beast inside. But he draws contact in the foul. And it will be on Dietrich Finn.
You know, there's an awful lot of red jerseys in this building. Red sweaters, red shirts, red T-shirts. They're all the Dayton fans, and I'm wondering if this gets to be a close game. Do all those people with red shirts start to root for the Musketeers or the Colonials?
I think there's no love lost between Dayton and Xavier. Intense rivals. They played 2 spectacular games this year. And I would think that the fans of the Flyers would probably prefer not to have to deal with Xavier any further down the line. Now a whistle, and that is going to be a lane violation. Hobbs Mensah-Bonsu stepped into the lane, negated his 2nd free throw that did not sit anywhere. We're tied again at 15. Sato has been very cold, 0 for 3 from 3-point range, and he just got himself a timeout. You're beginning to see George Washington and what their strategy is, John, when the ball goes to the sidelines.
Well, especially after a foul shot, they want to set up some kind of half-court pressure and try to get a trap on the sideline. That time, Romain Sato, just not comfortable with what he saw, wisely takes the timeout.
Take a look at the win streak, the 15-game streak. The last time Xavier lost, January 7th against Richmond, 47%. Holding opponents down near 40% shooting, and a gigantic margin in terms of rebounds. Look at the 3-point number, though, 43% from beyond the arc during these 15 games.
Well, that's in part because they have one of the best in the conference and in the country in Romain Sato. Happened to see him when he had 9 threes against the University of Rhode Island, and people talk about one of the best inside-outside combinations in the country. When you look at David West and Romain Sato. And Sato plays so well off of David West. Anytime there's a double team on West, West is so comfortable kicking the ball out to his teammate Romain Sato.
Shot clock down now at 15 for the Musketeers. Chalmers in that point guard spot now with Finn on the bench with 2 fouls. Chalmers got hit, it appeared after the shot, no call. And look at the big rebound from Hall. On the inside, an easy 2 for Chris Monroe. He's got 4.
George Washington doing a great job on transition offense. They had 3 of the lanes filled. Pops Mensah-Bonsu really gets down the court for a big man.
Oh, look at the move by Sato inside. Akimbade is going to get hit for the foul. Just such wonderful athletic ability on the inside for Sato.
Just good passing here in the interior of George Washington's defense, and Sato has really rounded out his game. His freshman year, he was thought of as really just a 3-point shooter, but he's become a very solid offensive rebounder. He's now able to score, putting the ball on the floor, taking it hard to the basket.
Oh, one more try for Sato, former Mr. Basketball in his senior year. He had a very big game in his high school career right here on this floor. Chris Monroe, though, helping to lead George Washington. We got a timeout on the floor, just about 8 minutes into the ball game, and the Colonials, as they hoped they would, hanging tough with the #1 seed Xavier Musketeers. This copyrighted telecast is produced by authority of the Atlantic 10 Conference and is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Atlantic 10 Conference is strictly prohibited. Early going. A great venue for college basketball. The University of Dayton Arena hosting its first Atlantic 10 tournament. And a tie game at 17 as Chris Monroe and the GW Colonials try to hang with the top overall seed.
Well, sometimes teams get a little bit tired at this point in the year, but I think the Colonials are mimicking the enthusiasm of Karl Hobbs, even though they just played a prelim game or a first-round game to face the Musketeers. There's really a lot of step right now, a lot of spring in the George Washington Colonials.
Quick hands by Chalmers, knocked it away, but the ball will stay the Colonials' way with 27 left on the timer.
Good active defense here by the Musketeers, and there's Chalmers there.
So much talk about West, obviously, and very well merited, and Romain Sato, but Chalmers won a couple of big games for Xavier this year, including a win that we had in overtime at St. Joseph's. Helped along with that victory. Now a tip follow. It's going to be credited to Forshawn.
Will Caldwell helped a little bit. Forshawn in good position. Karl Hobbs has to be happy with this young front court.
Caldwell came wide open on the inside. Nobody picked him up.
Basket by Will Caldwell.
Back the other way. Monroe. And he got hit along the baseline after he left his feet. Looked like he might be in no man's land. Caldwell's going to get called for the foul.
Scott, the Colonials just inbounded that ball so quickly after Caldwell made that field goal. They actually pushed the ball down the court before the defense was set. Chris Monroe took the ball hard to the basket, was able to get the foul. Actually, it was a bailout, if you will, on the part of the Musketeers because, as you mentioned, Chris Monroe in no man's land as he got caught underneath the backboard.
And now a timeout called for by Karl Hobbs. He's going to take a 30 here to set his team up for this inbound. As we continue through our coverage, glad to have you with us. Scott Graham along with John Griffin here courtside, and your tournament host, who is here with us all game long, in front of, around, and between games, is all over the arena as well. Let's check in with Larry Rosen.
For the crowd following the comments that you guys had earlier, which direction this crowd was going, there were 400 tickets for Xavier as an official family. The rest of the Xavier folks bought their tickets in the general sale. This is an anti-Xavier crowd, which you will hear crescendo. A lot of those red shirts, if you see the back of them, they say beat Xavier, guys.
There are a couple of them that have the team name Xavier on the front, and then it's crossed out. Those are very clearly Dayton fans that are coming dressed that way. Well, interesting dynamics about who you root for in a day that has 4 basketball games in one arena.
Well, it's interesting. I've talked to coaches who are either going to face Dayton or Xavier, and they thought that if the game became close, this partisan crowd will actually root for the underdog, the team from outside of the state of Ohio.
There's Sato camped out and finally hits from the outside after missing his first 3.
Well, it's just a matter of time for Romain Sato. He's been getting very good look. There is no one from George Washington right now making him put the ball on the floor. And over time, Romain Sato is just too reliable a three-point shooter.
Xavier's first made 3 in 8 attempts. Under 10 minutes to play in the first half. 4 shots, strong down the lane, had it knocked away. And it'll stay GW's way with 14 left on the timer.
George Washington, number 5.
Just a good power move by Tamal Forshan, but a good block by David West, getting some help from Anthony Miles. But I just like the aggressiveness right now of these young front court players from George Washington. Rich Sanfilippo, the official, is right now just trying to calm the players down. There's a little bit of grabbing and pushing as George Washington tries to inbound the basketball.
Colonials now down by 3. Shot clock winding down. And Mensah-Bonsu beats it on the inside. Get his team back within 1. Pops Mensah-Bonsu has 6 here in the first half.
When I talked to both coaches before the game, it seemed to me on paper that the Musketeers are the clear and hands-on favorite, but the coaching staff of Xavier was really concerned about the disposition of George Washington and the play of the front court players like Hobbs, Mensah-Bonsu. These are young guys right now that are playing with an awful lot of confidence and energy. And the Musketeers coach told me, these guys are not playing like freshmen anymore. They're very different now than they were in the beginning of the season.
Thad Matta knows, and any coach knows, that when you've got a young team, sometimes they just don't know enough to be afraid.
Exactly. These guys right now are energized. They're playing with a lot of confidence. Here's Pops Mensah-Bonsu. I mean, he wants to keep playing basketball. Some guys are thinking of spring break at this time of the year, not the Colonials.
Their only way of entering the postseason, one way or another, would be to win this Atlantic 10 title. Coming into the losing record, West got the finger roll with a pretty touch down the lane for David West, who's got 8.
So much of the scouting report in terms of defending David West is how do you double team him on the low post. There's really not an answer when he decides to take his man one-on-one from the foul line.
Quick hands again, this time by Sato. Superb defensive player, and the held ball is going to get it back to the Musketeers. Both teams have taken care of the basketball very well here early on, but look how quick Sato is.
Well, he's gotten your vote over the course of this season for Defensive Player of the Year, and you can see why. Romain Sato does a terrific job of anticipating that pass and covering up that loose ball.
He did not win the award last night. Tony Dobbins, who we'll see in the afternoon portion of this doubleheader for the Richmond Spiders, did. There's Sato again, just finding spots for his shots. And after missing his first 3, Romain Sato's got 14 points here in the first half.
Romain Sato is very comfortable in the corners, and usually he's knocking down a 3, but that time a little head fake, one hard dribble, he elevates, something that he's added to his game.
Had 5 lead changes here in the first half and 3 ties. Back and forth they go. This is Hall. You better be sure going over the big man. After that shot got changed high off the glass, Miles with the rebound. There's Miles again. And Williams clears the glass away. That's the guy that Xavier wants to find in transition, but Monroe missed from 3-point range. Alley-oop. Biggest lead here in the first half for the Musketeers.
Oh, this is just a great play in transition. The senior to the junior. I mean, when you got a guy that can sky like Romain Sato, here you see it all starts with the rebound. Now look at this outlet pass by David West. Okay, he turns to the outside. Let's roll it. David West advances the ball to Chalmers. Let's just stop it here. You see Chalmers looking for Romain Sato cutting down the left side, and guess what? He just throws it to the rim, let it go, and here it is. As perfect as it can be diagrammed, Romain Sato at rim level. I'm sorry, Keith Jackson just grabs that ball. He is a spark coming off the bench, a great athlete. Tremendous vertical lead.
Thompson off the miss. West battling for the rebound, and the Musketeers come away with it. And there they are on the move again. Lionel Chalmers on the feed from Romain Sato. The lead gets bigger now, 7 points. The margin for the Musketeers.
We have some great athletes right now on the court for the Musketeers. You have Romain Sato, you have Keith Jackson. And these two guys can really elevate from these wing spots when they're filling the lanes on the fast break.
The open shooter is Hall, a little bit short. Mensah-Bonsu, all kinds of athletic ability inside. Now for Sean. Just persistence on the inside from the Colonials.
Good putback there by Tamal Forshan. At 240 pounds, he's able to bang in there in the low post, only at 6'6". But he's had some good games lately, especially slow to recover this year. Had an injury in the summer. Had a great game against LaSalle with 18 points and 8 rebounds.
West gets the double team, and he's so good at finding the open man. Monroe out-battles Sato for the rebound. Foul call will go on Jackson. And Tamal Forshan will try to end this 8-2 Xavier run as he goes to the free throw line.
25, Keith Jackson hits first.
He's got another good example here of how the front court players from George Washington are doing a great job of filling the lanes. Part of the game plan for the Colonials was push the ball down the court, get our big guys involved in the game offensively by trying to beat the Musketeers down the court.
Forshan has had to come back really all year long from a dislocated ankle that he suffered playing summer ball in August, and he's gotten better and better as the season has gone on, a bigger contributor. 14 points and 3 boards in the victory over UMass this week.
For the people that have followed the Atlantic 10 over the last couple of years, the guy that fell on him in a summer league game was Ron Rollerson, the former center from Temple University.
And when Ron Rollerson falls on you, it's something you remember. Colonials hanging tough despite the superb athleticism of the top overall seed.
The power of X is a feeling you get. It's kind of all around you. The power of X?
It's me.
It's me.
It's me!
It's me. Have you got the power in you?
Up by 3 early on thanks to some magnificent play at both ends from first-team all-conference performer Romain Sato. He's denied Monroe on the defensive end, spotted up brilliantly on the offensive end. He has become indeed a complete player. His head coach Thad Matta says it's all due to his own hard work.
I'm just trying to win on Thursday, and you know, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But I think this team has proven itself as being one of the top teams in the country, and you know, you hope you're rewarded for that. And you know, we've played a tough non-conference schedule. The A-10 this year is obviously a loaded conference, and you know, we took care of business there, and you know, you hope you get taken care of.
Indeed, they've been taking care of business all season long with Sato, West, and hopefully a trip as a number 2 or 3 seed to the NCAAs, guys.
El Sato coming off a 29-point performance on Saturday against Temple, and he is on a roll here early with 14 in the first half. 3-point Xavier lead. Chalmers wants more, and he got it.
Basket by Lionel Chalmers.
Lionel Chalmers now with 6 here in the first half.
Well, the Musketeers are recognizing that George Washington is trying to trap or extend its defense. Right now, they're just attacking it very comfortably. That time, Chalmers has a good look at the basket from around the top of the key.
And apparently spinning the wheels up on top. Angelo Smith, the freshman, coming in defensively, and that forces a GW turnover. As we said, the Colonials got a minus turnover ratio coming in. They've done a pretty good job of taking care of the basketball here in the early going. That's their 5th turnover here in the first half.
Karl Hobbs really shares the minutes here, especially in the front court. You're going to see T.J. Thompson stay in the game most of the time, Chris Monroe the same. But amongst this front court players, you're going to see a lot of guys come in and out of the game. Karl Hobbs really trying to develop his younger front court players.
Too much for Jackson, but Miles right there on the weak side for the putback. And even without David West in the game, the Musketeers dominating on the glass.
Well, one of the best offensive rebounders in the conference, Anthony Miles. And he has just really come on in the second half of the season for the Musketeers.
Monroe trying a quick wrap pass. Ball got the tip. It's not going to count. The foul call will be on Mike Hall going up over the back as he draws his first. So not only does that take the basket away, but they're going to walk it all the way back down the other end, and it's free throw shooting time for Xavier.
I just like this passing by Monroe, and I just like the activeness, the activity of Mike Hall on the offensive glass. One of the best offensive rebounders in the conference. A bit frustrated with the call. I think it was a good call, and you can see that Xavier has good position there. Angelo Smith trying to box out Mike Hall, but Mike Hall averaging over 8 rebounds a game. An honor student. He's really going to be a good one for Karl Hobbs.
It looked like it was Smith who got fouled, but Miles is at the free throw line. And can't hit on the front end of the 1-and-1. Thompson. They wasn't stopping for anything. And another rebound for the Musketeers as they continue to push that advantage. Ball knocked away. Xavier fans wanted a call they didn't get. Now Thompson for 3. And Monroe uncontested for the rebound. Oh, what a move by Greg Monroe. Make that Chris Monroe hanging in midair. He draws contact in the foul. The booing is not coming from the move. It's coming from what happened down at the other end of the floor.
Well, there's probably no doubt what people in this arena are thinking of this call, but I just love the move by Chris Monroe. This is all manufactured by him. There's no screen. It's just a power move down the lane, and he's just willing to take on all challengers. So if Anthony Miles happens to be in his way, and he's about 6'9", and I'm Chris Monroe at 6 feet, 6'1", I'm still going to get the ball to the rim.
And you're also talking about a player in Monroe who, as you said, right around 6 foot, maybe 6'2", but listed at 208. And you see the cut of that body right there. That's why he doesn't mind going in there and playing pinball among the big men.
Well, think about this. He has over 2,000 points. 700 of them, or more than 700, are from the foul line. He's taken almost 1,000 free throws in his career.
There's West wide open. And David West, who's really got that 15-foot game and better down now here in his senior year, hitting right there.
I think he's starting to answer the question for a lot of NBA scouts. Can he play 3-man in the NBA? And I think when you see him take shots like that, and he's so confident taking those shots, passing the ball from around the perimeter, you get a sense that in the right situation with the right coach, he's going to be a heck of an NBA player.
Monroe and Sato going at one another. Great matchup of individual talent, but the throwaway and the ball off the hand of Thompson is going to bring us to a timeout. Colonials turn it over for the 6th time here in the first half, and they are trailing this one by 7 as we take timeout. Canton Business Solutions game story with 3:41 to go here in the first half. Xavier matching their largest lead, up 7. They've done a good job shooting the basketball, especially from 2-point range. They've taken care of the basketball, and Romain Sato, either in transition or whatever, has gotten his points. 14 here in the first half.
Just good fast break basketball played by the Musketeers. Here you see a terrific pass from Chalmers to Keith Jackson. A spectacular alley-oop. And here you see it in reverse. I'm going to give it back to you, Chalmers, for the easy basket from Romain Sato. So the Musketeers right now getting some easy points in transition. George Washington not getting back defensively the last couple possessions.
They're dominating points in the paint because of that. 21-12 here in the first half. Miles nowhere to go with it. And now it's West. They're playing a very big lineup right here. And the foul call is going to send Romain Sato to the free throw line as Chris Monroe will be called for the personal. That's his first.
Well, that's a difficult matchup for Chris Monroe. Inasmuch as he's a strong power guard, he's really no match in the low post for Romain Sato at 6'5", who has tremendous abilities to jump over his defender. Chris Monroe arguing that he went straight up. Romain Sato, a terrific foul shooter at 83%, second best in the Atlantic 10.
Not unexpectedly named first team All-Atlantic 10 conference for this year last night. Sato with 16 here in the first half. As you see the hustle. Xavier is doing it in large part here with defense. They've held the Colonials to 37% shooting. The Colonials have lost a little bit of that swagger that they had in the opening minutes of the game. And a foul call goes against Sato. Xavier crowd didn't like it. Check that. It's going to be against Miles. It'll be his second.
And again, here's a good look at Chris Monroe as he just powers his way to the basket. Now, you can make the call whether or not the defender was actually established. Certainly the fans here wanted an offensive foul on Chris Monroe, but it just speaks to his ability to get to the foul line, and oftentimes he does get the benefit of the doubt.
And off the miss. Xavier brings it down. A correction. The official put up 24, but it was 25. Keith Jackson who drew that foul, his second for the Musketeers. Now West finding the open man again. It is Jackson. And a rebound ripped down by Mike Hall. Look at West. Offensive foul called on David West, and he's furious. So is he.
Well, David West just doesn't like the call. Look at his reaction. Quick hands by David West. Now, as you listen to this crowd, it is so interestingly divided. All the red shirts think it was a great call. All the blue shirts think it was a horrible call. Look at the emotion of David West, clearly not pleased. Karl Hobbs said before the game, he said, I hope we get a good whistle. I hope the officials call the game the way he thinks it should be. And that time, certainly, the call went in favor of George Washington Colonials.
So West sitting right now, the turnover, the 8th of the game for the Colonials. And the Musketeers come down again with an opportunity to stretch what's their biggest lead of 9 points. Coming up on 2 minutes left here in the first half. Now it's going back down the other way. Offensive foul called against Angelo Smith. We're throwing the elbow.
Well, Angelo Smith was trying to get position, a 6'8" freshman in the low post, and he actually used his forearm to clear out the defender. Again, I'm going to argue another good call, but certainly not popular here with all those fans with the blue jerseys.
Williams trying to feed the post. Here's Mensah Bonsu. He was hot early on. Strip. Monroe. That would have been for 3. Chalmers beats everybody to loose basketball. And down the lane, more contact. This time, the call will go against the Colonials, and the fans showing their mock appreciation.
Here's just Chris Chalmers taking his man hard to the basket. T.J. Thompson tries to get in his way, but again, does not establish position. And when you talk to coaches around the league about the Xavier Musketeers, they basically have an opinion that the Musketeers are just a tough-minded team. To have a 15-game winning streak, to go undefeated on the road in the conference, you got to be mentally tough. And when they need a basket, they just know how to get one.
Colonials is started hot, down now by double digits.
Scott, you used that magic number in the very beginning, 70 points. That means by halftime, your opponent shouldn't have more than 35. Right now, Xavier with 39 points.
That was after an early struggle. Mike Hall with the answer from the baseline.
George Washington may have an opportunity to close this gap with David West on the sideline. I'm sure Karl Hobbs would like this to be a 5-point game when he goes into the locker room.
Now here's Sato finding the open man in Chalmers. And Williams clears the glass away. The Colonials responding now with under a minute left to go here in the half. Trying to wrestle a little of the momentum back. Sabatsu left it short, tried for his own rebound, and he went up over the back of Anthony Miles. The second on Pops Metsabatsu.
Colonials foul number 21, Pops Metsabatsu, his second.
Coming up at halftime, we've got a lot for you here in this first game of our quarterfinals. Richmond head coach Jerry Wainwright will be with Larry Rosen. We'll have first half highlights and all of the first half stats as well coming up at halftime, which right now in terms of game action is 31.8 away. Anthony Miles at the free throw line. Chance to shoot two. Well, one more try. There's Jeff Myers from the Richmond Spiders. They're getting ready to play in game two. An opportunity to watch some of game one here and scout the opposition that they would meet should they win.
Some coaches got to have mixed feelings about whether or not their players should sit on the court and watch their opposing team. Sometimes you can create an impression. The coach certainly can if his players hasn't seen the opponent. But again, a lot of the players are here watching the other teams in the tournament, and it certainly makes for a great environment for these young guys.
Well, those Richmond players are probably saying, what's so tough? We beat Xavier. That was the last team that beat him back on January 7th. Holding for the last shot of the half. Williams got stripped of the basketball. Chalmers let it fly. Oh, goodness! For about 75 feet, Chalmers put a great rotation on it and almost bought himself a miracle. As it is, the Musketeers, who are 44-1 under Thad Matta when they lead at halftime, walk off the floor, leading GW by 8. How close is this, John Griffin?
About 75 feet, and that ball just hung in the air for about 2 seconds. What a great arc on that.
In the half, down by 8. And TJ Thompson right to work. Had a shot up on the rim, wouldn't fall. And the ball was going to belong with Colonials as Miles covered it up. It was on the end line.
TJ Thompson just tried to take his man one-on-one. Diedrich Finn did a terrific job defensively. I think it's important out of the gates here in the second half that George Washington establishes a presence and tries to close this gap. And Karl Hobbs wants to be in the game coming down to the last 5 minutes.
There you see 44-1 of the Musketeers under Thad Matta when they've got the lead at halftime. It's Monroe. They try to find the range from long distance. Hall with the follow. And Sato ultimately with the rebound. GW with 3 shots right out of the gate. This is Miles working on for a shot. He was looking for help he didn't get. And Al West, the putback. He'll go to the free throw line.
This is where the Musketeers really wear you down. Miles catches the ball on the low post, but you just can't forget about David West. David West thinks that every shot taken is going to be missed. So he thinks of scoring off the glass. He just gets a ton of points off the offensive backboard.
And the 4th leading free throw shooter in the conference this year. Getting out his first. Pops Metsabatsu, who had the hot start to the ball game, draws his 3rd foul. 123 consecutive starts, most all time at Xavier. And he continues to just be consistent and smooth. And he's helped the Musketeers back out now to a double-digit lead. This matches their largest of the game. And a foul call the other way. Monroe is going to get called for clearing out the lane as he draws his second.
Chris Monroe used a high screen. Romain Sato actually guarding him, and Monroe just pushes Sato out of the way and gets called for the foul. It's not a foul you really want, especially early in the second half as you're trying to close this gap. Right now the Musketeers want to deliver a blow and discourage George Washington from even making a comeback. They want to knock him out here early in the second half. Remember that game we talked about Xavier winning on the buzzer shot, but the Musketeers were up in the last 4 minutes of the game by 10 and just couldn't deliver that fatal blow.
And here trying to contend and defend on the sideline. Chalmers will be called for the personal.
Do you really think Chris Monroe got knocked over there? I'm not sure two guys could knock Chris Monroe over if he didn't want to be knocked over.
It's a strong guy with a low center of gravity.
That's what you call experience. The ability to draw a foul.
Colonials trying to be patient here. And find the right shot as the clock winds down toward 10. Rashad. It's taken away in the middle of the lane. Look at the move inside, but couldn't pay it off, and West comes out with the rebound.
You know, it's just so hard to score in the paint with David West there because he's a factor even if he doesn't block the shot. You're always thinking about him, and your shots just aren't as comfortable.
Adric Finn drew the contact, and he will go to the free throw line.
Colonials foul on number 5, T.J. Thompson, his third.
Again, here's the young guy, Tamal Forshawn, trying to take on the vet, David West. And again, Forshawn made a nice little left-handed move, but not able to convert, and David West comes down with a rebound.
Well, here's Finn, who was in some foul trouble in the first half. And he stretches the lead now out to 11. That number, John, becomes significant as T.J. Thompson draws his third. It's significant because the biggest deficit that George Washington has come back from this year in any game is 10 points. They did it twice. Once against Bucknell, once against Binghamton. This would be their biggest comeback of the year to come back and take this one.
Well, it's particularly hard, Scott, for a young team. Good look at Karl Hobbs and what a terrific job he's done this season. He's got a bunch of young guys here that have gotten a ton of experience and are just going to be so much better next season. We talked about hiring a strength and conditioning coach and how important that person is for the development of these young guys.
That interior defense, nowhere for Forshawn to go. Monroe raising up, left it short, and Hall lost the handle on the rebound. See some early frustration now coming through for the Colonials as well. Karl Hobbs wants a timeout with his team down now by 12. Good quick hands and a good position for Mike Hall, but the freshman couldn't wrap the basketball up. Karl Hobbs right now trying to convince his team that they can make a comeback down by 12 points.
Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Steve Coates, and you guessed it, I'm back at Scotland Run. I get a lot of kidding about being here all the time, but why not? Scotland Run is located just 20 minutes from Center City in Williamstown, New Jersey, and the course, it's incredible. It features wooded, quarry, and link-style holes with exceptional playing conditions. It's so nice that it was rated the 4th best public course in New Jersey by Golf Week and awarded 4 stars by Golf Digest. The Philadelphia Inquirer named this hole, the 18th at Scotland Run, the top finishing hole in the region. For more information, go to scotlandrun.com.
Keith.
Xavier Musketeers by 12 now over George Washington. This is just the first game of our quadruple header here today. The U.S. Airways tournament scoreboard. GW over UMass to get here. Monroe with 23 points and 9 rebounds. That broke a 6-game losing streak to UMass. LaSalle plays St. Joe's later on tonight with a victory. And Rhode Island a come from behind win over Duquesne to advance and get the dubious honor of facing Dayton tonight in the final game here at 9:30.
Scott, as we've been saying, you can rest assured that there's a lot of people here that came from Cincinnati wearing blue t-shirts that are going to root for the other blue team, the Rhode Island Rams.
Once again, a great rivalry between the teams that are just 40 minutes apart on the highway here in Ohio between Xavier and Dayton. You can make an argument that they've been the 2 best teams in the conference this year. St. Joseph's might have something to say about that. The 2 Xavier-Dayton games this season were games for the ages. Trying to draw the defense in and kick back out. Monroe still doesn't have a three-pointer in the game. Forshawn straight on from the foul line. And GW finally on the board here in the second half.
Well, that was a good decision by Tamal Forshawn. So many times the front court players of George Washington are taking it into the lane with really nowhere to go. That time Forshawn just pulls up at the foul line.
Sato, you want to talk about all alone, couldn't hit on it. And this time he'll pass it up for Chalmers. And the Musketeers continue to struggle from three-point land. Here's Monroe. Oh, look at the quick hands of Lionel Chalmers. Back the other way, Sato. And the look for David West.
Boy, it all started with good defense by Lionel Chalmers. It looked like Chris Monroe had an easy basket. Chalmers does a terrific job, and then the Musketeers so unselfish on the offensive end.
Forshawn lost the handle. They say it last touched Xavier.
Look at that long pass, and Chalmers just amazingly gets back, advances the ball, and I just like the way this team is now passing the basketball, looking for the open man. Sato makes a nice pass to David West.
And Forshawn left wide open with a double screen to free him up. He's now got 11 for the game.
Forshawn has clearly been a bright spot offensively for Karl Hobbs' club. He had 18 against LaSalle, 14 against UMass.
West fighting his way through and finding the open man. When they collapse in toward him, he is so good at finding the open player.
We have a David West on the court. You really don't have to diagram plays. He just makes things happen.
Monroe penetrating to the inside. Right now, George Washington cannot afford to match Xavier basket for basket. He's got to come up with a run. Look at that. Oh, goodness. What an assist for David West.
Well, add that to the highlight film. David West, a little touch pass. I mean, he's as excited as Anthony Miles was to get the deuce. But again, great court presence.
Forshawn. The miss, and Sato comes down with the rebound. That is 6 of them in the game now for Romain Sato. Musketeers putting on an offensive clinic here this half. Sato missing from a tough angle. Thompson fought the contact, and he'll go to the line with a chance at a three-point play.
Well, clearly George Washington wants the fast break, and they do a terrific job of it, especially when you got a guy like TJ Thompson in transition. He's got a couple different speeds. They're all fast, and again, good body control. Hang in the air, draw the foul, complete the play.
That is foul number 3 on Diedrich Finn. As we said, he sat for a significant portion of the first half in foul trouble. Thompson looking for his 9th point of the game. Will get Karl Hobbs' team back now to within 9. You're talking about a guy with effervescent energy trying to keep his team in. Thad Matta, uneasy as the head they say that wears the crown, but when David West is distributing the basketball, they can rest a lot easier. 49-40, Xavier on top of GW. 14:55 to go here in this quarterfinal game. I'll tell you what. You understand why you get immortalized when you play the game the way David West does. And I'm not talking about scoring. I'm not talking about block shots. How about distributing the basketball?
How about his passing? He has tremendous court presence. And that bobblehead, you know, he's smiling. And when he makes passes like this, you can see why. He's excited when he runs down the court. He's giving a high five there to his teammate Anthony Miles. But great numbers, 14 points, 8 rebounds. But the unselfish play, 4 assists. And you have a career like David West has had here at Xavier University, you get a bobblehead.
We saw the assist numbers overall, 10 of them on the game for the Musketeers. Now some controversy about which way this ball's going. And it is Xavier basketball. Karl Hobbs stating his case. David West and company did a good job of stating theirs. Now take a look.
A bit frenetic here.
Yep, it was off the leg of Monroe. The officials got the call right.
Karl Hobbs obviously didn't like that call, and he's complaining to one of the administrators of the athletic department at George Washington, Dom Perno, who used to be the head coach at the University of Connecticut.
West, oh goodness. Another chance at three-point play.
Colonials foul number 21. His fourth.
Hobbs Mensah-Bonsu just got his fourth foul.
It's again a very difficult assignment. You can see how West establishes position, and he's putting on a clinic right now. These back to the basket moves take years to master. And I think every time David West catches the basketball, any young player that plays with his back to the basket should somehow capture those videotapes and really learn the way to play the basketball game with your back to the basket, because he really combines everything. Low post moves, facing up, passing the basketball.
Rashawn got fouled by Caudle on the way down the lane. The trips down the lane have been few and far between for any of the big men for George Washington. Rashawn even his wide body included, because they had just been eaten up by a swarm of defenders that have cut him off in the paint. Heels do well to get their outside game back. They had going early. It's a two-point attempt, and Monroe too strong with it.
If you're Karl Hobbs, you're just wondering where the points are going to come from, because you're going to have to score a ton just to stay pace with Xavier.
Diedrich Finn did everything he could do to try to keep that possession alive, and then pinballed back and forth between a pair of players. Akambade is going to get called for the foul.
Chris Monroe right now 3 for 11 from the field, 0 for 5 from beyond the arc. So he's a guy that has to be counted on to get some points here, close the gap and get George Washington back in the game.
42% of the team's points and 59% of the rebounds have come from the freshman. For George Washington, yet another of the teams that is very young and very athletically talented. Rashawn, nothing he could do but foul from behind. He picks up his second. And David West will go to the line to shoot two.
This is just a great play. Look at this isolation, really in the low post. Again, the pass comes from the foul line area, and it's so difficult to defend that dump down pass. A terrific two-man game. Sometimes the passer is Anthony Miles. That time the freshman Will Caudle. Admata has to be happy with his young front court player, because every day he gets a chance to practice against this guy. So how good can you become if you every day have to go toe-to-toe with David West?
Steve Jackson, the sophomore, will check back into the game, replacing Diedrich Finn. The Musketeers 54-40 in fight, matching their biggest lead of the game. Alexander Kiriev into the game now for the Colonials. As you said, where are the points going to come from for George Washington to get back in this? Thompson, short with it. Kiriev, blocked away. Superb leaping ability by Sato. Williams finally gets fouled and will earn a trip to the line. GW fans here were thinking that may have been a potential goaltending on Romain Sato as he swatted that shot away.
Again, good hustle here by George Washington to keep the ball alive. Now Kiriev gets that rebound, but Sato is the guy that blocks the shot. Omar Williams comes up with the loose ball and is able to draw the foul. But how about Sato getting off his feet and blocking the shot by Kiriev at 6'11" here. Okay, Romain Sato at 6'5", blocks the shot of Kiriev at 6'11".
All the players with the wonderful skills in the Atlantic 10, Romain Sato is the most breathtaking of the athletes to watch.
Guy who really started playing basketball somewhat late in life as a teenager, but a guy who keeps getting better, and you'd have to think that he has an NBA possibility. I mean, as he continues to round out his game,
I would say the way
handle the ball better away from the basket.
I would say the way he plays defense, John. I don't even know if it's just a possibility or a near certainty. 12-point lead for the Musketeers. quick hands, this time from Hall as he strips Chalmers and gets an easy 2 on the other end.
A terrific play by Mike Hall. Mike Hall a little bit frustrated. Noticed his facial expressions. He's not touching the ball enough. That time he creates it for himself with good defense.
The ball will belong to Xavier.
And look at these quick hands. Good hustle here by Mike Hall. And again, it just speaks to his versatility. This is a big guy playing a guard away from the basket, comes up with that steal and is able to finish in transition.
10-point game. And a held ball call on the inside as Williams helped tie up Anthony Miles. The possession arrow belongs to Xavier, and they'll have 16 left to shoot.
Scott, about a minute ago, I thought we were at an inflection point, and I thought that GW, if they weren't able to score in that possession, could certainly cave in. They battled back the last 2 possessions offensively. It's now a 10-point game, and psychologically, that's a big difference as you come down to the last 12 minutes of this game.
Here, right, though, you see the difficulty the Karl Hobbs team has down the stretch, and that is that Xavier is a superb free throw shooting team at 76% as a team on the year. And they have done this before. They have put games away with great free throw shooting late.
What's an amazing thing to me as I look at the stats for the Xavier Musketeers is they have made 120 more foul shots than their opponents have taken. I mean, that's shocking when you get that many points on the foul line and that many more than your opponents.
Lead is now 11. Jermaine Sato leading the way, along with David West. West 19, Sato 17. For shot, great move down the lane, and he buys the contact. It'll send him to the free throw line. The foul call will go against Keith Jackson.
Here's Forshawn from beyond the arc, and this is the matchup problem that the Xavier Musketeers were talking about before the game. They feel that George Washington's front court players are very versatile. They can play from beyond the arc, and these matchups are a bit difficult. And guys like Forshawn put the ball on the floor and take it strong to the hoop.
This is not a strength of Tamal Forshawn's game, and the season coming in 26 out of 61 on the free throw line. It's 43%. Another line drive. This one too strong, so he misses 2. 11-point leading holding for the number 10 team in the country. That's Miles. Not there. And Thompson wants to run. Hall tried to go over Sato and got knocked to the ground. He not only wanted to go over Sato, he wanted to send a message and dunk over Sato. And he ended up taking the worst of that collision.
When Karl Hobbs talked about no fear, this is what he's talking about. You have Romain Sato on defense, and you have the freshman Mike Hall offensively trying to finish with a slam, and there's Karl Hobbs, the young man who's going to grow old very quickly with that kind of emotion in the game. But he's got to like the aggressiveness right now of this young team as they try to attack the Musketeers in transition.
Well, Hall shaking it off here and making sure that he's okay. A 75% free throw shooter on the year. Made a big impact here in his freshman season, missing on the first.
Well, last night at the awards ceremony where we honored the player of the year, the all-conference team, you talked about how many young players there are in the conference. And Mike Hall is one of those guys you got to consider as one of the best up-and-comers. When you look at some of these clubs like LaSalle and George Washington, the future looks awfully bright for these 2 coaches, Billy Hahn and Karl Hobbs.
Rare unforced error from Miles as he was throwing the bounce pass to the wing, and that's going to bring us to a timeout on the floor. George Washington trying to climb a major mountain down by double digits. We'll get the basketball when we come back. Under 12 minutes left to play here in our quarterfinal opener at Dayton.
Hey students, the Atlantic 10 shootout is coming.
The Colonials down by 10 in game 1 of our quarterfinals. There is one team at George Washington not waiting for selection Sunday to make sure they're in. The women of George Washington, led by head coach Joe McEwen, won the Atlantic 10 Tournament Championship on their home floor against the Rams of Rhode Island. They are expecting to be a 4 or a 5 seed in the Atlantic 10 Women's Tournament. It is the 12th 20-win season for Joe McEwen in his 14 years at George Washington, and they are heading back once more to the NCAA tournament. Of course, the gentlemen from George Washington need a couple of victories to get that far themselves, find themselves down 10 against the top seeds from Xavier. Gentlemen.
And there's a look that could burn right through iron as David West comes back out onto the floor up by 10 with less than 12 minutes to go.
Well, if I'm Karl Hobbs and I'm sitting on the other bench, I'm kind of concerned when David West comes back into the game with a scowl on his face, because you know he's going to make something happen.
Right now he is just battling down that low post with Kiriev. Shot clock down to 15. And nothing is coming easy. Xavier is playing a terrific defensive game. Williams, nice move to protect the ball with his body. The ball is going to belong to the Colonials with a fresh shot clock.
Well, Omar Williams wanted a foul as he penetrated to the basket, but I just like the way these young players, particularly in the front court, are able to put the ball on the floor. I mean, these are just not low post players. They're multi-talented. They're skilled players, particularly away from the basket.
Hobbs Mensah-Bonsu back into the game, but with 4 fouls. A calculated risk by Karl Hobbs here. His team down by 10. There is Mensah-Bonsu inside, finding good position. Couldn't get it to fall. And the ball out off Jackson, so GW will get another try.
Scott, how many times this afternoon have we seen George Washington get a reasonably good look and the ball just not falling for them? We've seen it a few times with Pops Mensah-Bonsu. We've seen it with Tamal Forshan. Here you see Bonsu just elevating over David West, but the ball not falling for him. And I'll give some credit to David West on that. He's just an intimidating factor in the low post defensively.
Hank Finn just did a terrific job of buying himself a foul. And Thompson just drew his fourth.
Well, this certainly cannot please Karl Hobbs. Just a little bit too aggressive there offensively by TJ Thompson. Terrific position defense by Diedrich Finn.
13 turnovers for the Colonials. Xavier trying to press that advantage. You talked about that knockout punch. That's the guy to throw it. And David West continues. He's got 21 for the game.
That's all part of that scowl that he wore into the game just less than a minute ago. We saw that actually in the overtime game of the St. Joe Xavier game at St. Joseph's in overtime, where David West just dominated.
Took that game over. Got them out of there with a key win that kept this win streak going. A victory today would give them the longest streak in school history. Thompson just inside the arc. We haven't seen too many shots fall for GW here in this second half of play. Staying within 10 now as we cross the 10-minute mark.
Well, it's a bit comforting if you're George Washington to know that you can come back from down 10 as they did earlier. Excuse me, if you're Xavier, you can come back from down 10. George Washington actually had that lead late in the game.
So now it's Sato. Quiet here in the second half. Too strong with the 3. And West blocked away by Mensah-Bonsu. That's going to start the break back the other way. Thompson for 3. And Mensah-Bonsu stripped to the basketball. The foul call will go on Keith Jackson. So he picks up his 4th. That would have been a big 3 right there for George Washington to get back within 7.
Karl Hobbs happy with the defense here. It starts with great defense there by Pops Mensah-Bonsu. David West penetrates, and Bonsu leads this team in block shots, and you can see why. And look at the numbers in transition. TJ Thompson decides to pull up, but he actually had numbers. He could have passed the ball off to a couple different guys who were filling lanes.
And short with the free throw. GW has hurt themselves from the free throw line here today. They're just 11 out of 17. Jackson will come out, as we said, with his 4th foul as Lionel Chalmers checks back in. There you see a terrific beginning for another freshman. And 1 out of 2 from the free throw line gets his team back within 9. And Subansu will come back out of the game, once again protecting him with the 4 fouls, and Akimbade comes in to replace him.
I asked Karl Hobbs if he was concerned about any kind of fatigue at this time of the year, particularly having played on the road on Monday, and he said, no, I play a lot of guys, especially in the front court. I'm not concerned about it at all.
One thing Xavier has not done well in this game, that's one of the reasons they're not leading by more, is that they have not hit their 3-pointers. Just 1 out of 14 from beyond the arc. Chalmers right there. And you can see the struggles continue. GW trying to continue an 8-3 run now. Williams almost stepped into a 3 right there, but that is not Omar Williams' game. That's more his style right there, but great helping defense by Miles to swat the shot away. That's a team defensive concept right there, John. Sato gets beat, doesn't happen very often, and here's his help.
Yeah, you can see terrific help defense. I think the Musketeers pride themselves on playing team defense. They've certainly played that all season long. They're one of the best defensive teams in the conference, so you can't always rely just on David West getting enough points. You have to have that toughness, that defensive mentality, and the Musketeers clearly have it.
Their shot running out of time as the shot clock winds down. And he got it to go. Big spirited shot from Tamal Forshawn. And we got a 7-point game.
Boy, these guys are just so confident. They're just breaking their men down off the dribble from outside the lane.
And the Xavier crowd and the anti-Xavier crowd both rose as one. And now the run continues. Here comes Monroe. It tickled the rim and fell. We got a 5-point game. And Xavier's going to call for a timeout with major momentum now going back the other way. It is a 12-3 run right now for the George Washington Colonials as they work their way back in this game with under 8 minutes left.
Here's Pop Mensah-Bonsu, and again, just terrific outlet to Chris Monroe. He actually leaves a little bit early because George Washington wants the fast break. And again, it all starts with terrific defense. What quick feet by Pop Mensah-Bonsu, and that ball just kind of hung on the back of the iron. Gave Chris Monroe a favorable bounce, but all of a sudden the Dayton fans are back in this game.
12-3 run over the last 5:22. And as a coach of a team that would be favored in a game or heavily favored in a game, the one thing you don't want is to let the other team hang around and think they have a chance to win.
Yeah, you don't want a young team to kind of feel like they deserve or belong at this point in the game. You really want to get them out of the way as early as you can, but the secret weapon.
Tough angle, tougher shot. And the ball off, I believe, GW. Yep, it's going to stay Xavier's way. A lot of contact inside in the fight of the boards. West is one who kept the rebound alive and ultimately helped save the possession for the Musketeers. Right now, Karl Hobbs has a reason to smile. His team is fighting as hard as it can. They're in a 12-3 run that's gotten them back in the ballgame. Where does the drive and intensity come from? And David West, whose team is up by 5, for Mom and Dad, Amos and Harriet West. Looking on here at UD Arena, things have gotten a little bit tight as West cannot get the ball in the last possession, John.
Well, Scott, watch the way that the Musketeers try to isolate David West. The pass will go to Anthony Miles. And again, there's just nobody here defensively, really, when the ball is reversed. Let's roll it. As Miles catches the pass, watch how West tries to seal. Okay, there's no opportunity right now to get the ball to David West, but the thought process is isolate David West on the low post, rotate the basketball, and dump it down. And when you're down 5, when you're up 5 points and you need a basket, who do you go to? David West.
That was the design guy out of the huddle, but he just threw it away. The ninth Xavier turnover. All the momentum with GW right now. Williams can't continue it, and now he does. Look out, we got a 3-point game. And here comes the crowd for the first time this afternoon.
Well, this is what Karl Hobbs had hoped for, that he would make it a close enough game and the Dayton fans would come to cheer for the Colonials. They would cheer for the underdog. They would cheer for the team that could possibly knock out the Musketeers.
West fouled. Oh, what the strength of David West. Are you kidding? A chance at a three-point play. That incredible strength as he got hammered in the lane to stop the 14-3 run.
Now he's guarded right now by Tamal Forshan at 240 pounds. Just very, very strong in the low post. And you can see this pivot, raises the defender, and powers the ball to the basket. And there's just really no answer. Karl Hobbs does everything that he can do by double teaming.
Well, when you want to get something done in your Xavier, that's where you put the ball. 24 points now. 13 career player of the week honors, 7 of them this year, the player of the year. And now the Xavier fans are calling for defense in a 6-point game. This will be a test for George Washington. You would think Monroe's got to have a touch. And a throwaway as the ball is thrown at the feet of Mensah Bonsu.
There's just no substitute for young players other than to put themselves in this environment. You can talk about the playoffs, you can talk about the Atlantic 10 tournament all you want, but until you actually are in this environment, having to make plays at critical moments of the game, you're never really going to be able to get it done. So this is very valuable experience for the George Washington Colonials.
Mr. Experience, Monroe with the pitch to Forshan, and they're not afraid of anything now. At the 6-minute mark, we still got a ball game. And Karl Hobbs is going nuts on the sideline, encouraging his team along. Forshan with 15. That's Chalmers with a hand in his face. Sato, big rebound and put back for Romain Sato, who's got 19.
Well, sometimes you forget about Romain Sato because so many times he's positioning himself in the corner to receive a long pass. That time, again, he just skies for an offensive rebound. He is just so dangerous on the glass. You have to know where he is. Now, Thad Matta, in this possession, and you can see the expression on his face, wants his team to play good defense. Terrific transition again by George Washington. We've seen so many great plays. But look at Sato offensively on the glass. I mean, he just elevates over a couple of the Colonials. And that Matta in the last timeout really wanted to stress the point, you got to stop them here.
Well, for all the success that they have had, Romain Sato and David West continue to be the guys you got to figure out a way to try to stop. 43 points, 17 rebounds combined for the pair here in the game. George Washington playing strong basketball here in the second, but Williams lost the handle, and that's 15 turnovers. Sato helping to create that one.
Well, Scott, that's 2 turnovers when Chris Monroe did not touch the basketball. So in as much as the Musketeers want David West to touch the ball and make good things happen, so too do the Colonials. You have to get the ball in Monroe's hand.
Oh, Finn got the timeout on his way out, falling over the sideline and going out of bounds. He saved the possession by getting the timeout call.
Coming right at us, Diedrich Finn trying to control the basketball and still call the timeout. He's able to get the call, but Karl Hobbs wanted a walk first. I don't think so. Kenny Clark right on the play there, able to give the Musketeers a timeout.
Well, we've got a lot more coming up for you here at UD Arena and on television. Coming up next quarterfinal game, Richmond against Temple. And tonight at 7, another doubleheader session in the quarterfinals. LaSalle against number 25 St. Joseph's. Rhode Island against number 22 Dayton. All coming up on the Atlantic 10 television network.
George Washington showing a different look here defensively, a little half-court zone.
This is Miles. Tough shot. Wouldn't fall. Akimbade the rebound.
We got to try to get the ball in the hands of Chris Monroe right now.
Williams had his feet slide from under him, and it's going to be a traveling violation. That you've got to put down as nothing more than bad luck for Karl Hobbs' team.
Again, here you can see, I'm going to say, a bit of impatience. There's really no reason to rush. Each possession becomes almost a game in and of itself when you get in with the last 5 minutes of a game. So really young guys sometimes don't understand how critically important it is to get a good shot with every possession. And it doesn't have to come in the first 15 seconds. It may take time to probe the defense.
Jackson had a brief open look. He'll not take that. This is Sato for three. West hard to the offensive glass. Look at David West. His 67th career double-double. Cemented right there. And a timeout called for by GW now with 4:18 left to go. Back down by 8. Amos and Harriet West can be very proud of David, who is beginning to take over this game late.
Well, he's just relentless and so determined. Here it looks like he's being boxed out by Tamal Forshawn. But forget about it. It's almost like a good pass rusher. You know, he gets initially blocked, but he fights his way through and attacks the quarterback. And that's what it's like, trying to keep David West off of the glass. I mean, his second and third effort, Scott, is just amazing.
At 67 career double-doubles that I just mentioned, ties Tyrone Hill for the school record. It's also his 21st this season. Now you look at Xavier, they're obviously an NCAA tournament team. Number 11 in the most recent RPI, 61 strength of schedule. Wins against Creighton, Dayton twice. They beat St. Joseph's. Quality loss to Stanford. And they have been to the last 2 NCAA tournaments. They will be back one way or another. And Lionel Chalmers is going to be called for the foul.
What a great addition the Xavier Musketeers have been to the Atlantic 10 Conference. I mean, this conference expanded west when it brought in, no pun intended, the Musketeers as well as the University of Dayton. And they've been a great addition in terms of not only competitive basketball programs, but great home crowds, great arenas, and certainly terrific additions in terms of improving the conference's RPI.
Monroe hits on the first, and he'll have one more try. It has been a very quiet second half for Chris Monroe. He hits a pair. Points for Monroe, his team down by 6. Big defensive possession right here. Chalmers. And finally a 3 goes down, just the second of the game for the Musketeers in 18 attempts.
I have to say, as a shooter, you don't second guess yourself when you know you have a guy in the lane ready to scoop up a miss like David West, so you can knock down a shot from beyond the arc. You can certainly stroke the ball a lot more confidently.
And a foul call on the inside off the loose ball as West was fighting for it. He gets fouled by Forshawn, who draws his 3rd. So many times.
Again, David West, just a great nose for the basketball. Now you see 3 guys in blue jerseys that really want that basketball, and David West, again, able to hold on to it and draw the foul. So you're not going to take the ball away from David West when he gets a defensive rebound. Maybe as a freshman he'd cough that ball up, but at this stage in his career it's just about impossible to pry that ball away.
Start thinking about it. 3-time Atlantic 10 Player of the Year. It's the first time it's ever happened in the conference, John. Think about some of the other players in history who have been 3-time Conference Players of the Year. Guys like David Thompson, guys like Jerry Lucas, Keith Van Horn, guys who completely dominated their conference play when they were players.
Already had his jersey, number 30, retired. Only the 3rd player in Xavier history to have that done.
Monroe. Off and miss. Forshaw gets it taken away. It's Chalmers. Has help. Got stripped. And the ball will stay Xavier's way. So after the collision course with the cheerleaders beyond the basket, we'll have a timeout on the floor. 3 minutes, 11 seconds left to go. Karl Hobbs' team trying to pull the upset. They have not quit on this one yet as Monroe came in and knocked it away. But as we watch David West and Romain Sato dominated, how many times has Lionel Chalmers thrown the dagger shot? Business Solutions game story, 3:11 left to go. Xavier has held GW at arm's length throughout this second half. Well, the Colonials had gotten back to within 3 points. They've turned it over 17 times. David West dominates here. Yet another double-double with 26 points on the game. At Citizens Bank, not your typical play of the game. How about David West getting hammered, hitting it anyway?
Again, David West has just been amazing. He's just kind of dominated the paint area. But this is really the typical David West, just power rebounding. You know, you can't just block him out. He just dominates that offensive glass.
Citizens Bank, not your typical bank. Coming up on 3 minutes to go, and another key defensive possession for the Colonials trying to hang in this one.
I think sometimes people overlook the backcourt of the Musketeers. Here's this isolation in the low post for David West.
Found the open man again, but they couldn't get a good shot. But Chalmers, big takeaway. Hall fighting among the trees by himself and could not land the rebound.
God, I was talking about Diedrich Finn, the freshman, and Lionel Chalmers, the senior. What a great combination they are in the backcourt. They can both run the team. They can both score. They both play terrific perimeter defense. And a lot of times people are focused on some other guard combinations in the conference, like Delonte West, Jameer Nelson. And I think sometimes people forget about Chalmers and Finn.
As Finn moved into that starting lineup, they became so much more effective this year.
You got to remember, Chalmers was injured for part of the season, so Finn got an awful lot of time as that starting point guard. And he has just matured so quickly. He's not playing like a freshman anymore.
And a turnover for the Musketeers. That leaves the door cracked open here with 2:27 to go. Down by 9. GW needs a basket. They need it now.
Well, they need Chris Monroe to step up from beyond the arc. Right now, 0 for 5 from the three-point area.
Thompson will try it. Too strong. West got Forshaw on his back. A foul call is going to go against Xavier. Keith Jackson just got hit for his 5th. Well, the foul out as Jackson leaves the ball game with 2 points on the day.
But we're going to remember those 2 points.
Oh, yeah.
I know certainly I'm going to remember those 2 points.
Highlight film play on the feed from Chalmers in the first half of the alley-oop. David West leads all scorers here this afternoon. That's nothing new.
Well, last night when David West received his award as Player of the Year for the 3rd straight time, he made a couple comments, one of which is, this is our trophy, and we're going to defend it. You know, we're going to work hard to get this. This is ours. You're going to have to fight me to get it away. There was a bit of a swagger, certainly a level of determination in his voice.
George Washington has put up a heck of a fight here today. David West and Xavier, with 2:09 left to go, have the game in their hands on top by 9. And a chance to help to put it away at the free throw line, something that Xavier does exceptionally well for Thad Matta.
Last year, David West was the most outstanding player in the Atlantic 10 tournament. So, and his tremendous determination.
Their path was not an easy one last year, John. They beat UMass in that wild overtime game in the quarterfinals, then went on to a hard-fought victory in the semis over Dayton. They were able to coast to a certain degree in convincingly beating Richmond for the title last year to go to the NCAAs. This has been no walk in the park here in the second half this afternoon, but they've got them at arm's length. Karl Hobbs with a timeout call with 1:57 left to go, realizing you want to win the game, you need a basket right now.
Well, he's a bit frustrated right now. A lot of standing around on the offensive end, and he realizes how important this possession is, so he wants to make sure he gets a good shot. He wants to make sure that he has the ball in the hands of the right player here. Ideally, he'd like a 3, but he certainly wouldn't mind a field goal and a foul shot and a chance to set up some full court pressure.
Well, David West wins the Atlantic 10 Player of the Year, as we mentioned again last night, and he said that it's a very big honor.
When I first got to Xavier, that I was set out to do as far as you know, making an impact and setting myself apart from everybody else. That's one of the goals that Coach Prosser really worked with me on, as far as, you know, just becoming a player that's a constant force night in, night out. And Coach Mata really has beat that into me even more. And it's just something that I set out to do. So, and it's also you know, a sign of respect from the people who vote and that deal. You know, I'm thankful, really.
As I said, when I called him up last night, John, there were 5 people in the room who were surprised, and I was surprised.
Well, I heard something about David West this morning that really, I think, says an awful lot about this young man, and that is next year he's looking forward to actually being the low man on the totem pole and working his way back up. He has a tremendous work ethic. He's certainly gotten better every year that he's been at Xavier. And what a treat for all of us to watch his development.
Well, they knew where they had to go to get that necessary 2, and Monroe got it for him, up and under. He's got 14 now for the game.
Karl Hobbs signaling to his team, come up, play full court pressure.
And they did. Thompson a chance right here. And Mensah-Bonsu with the rebound got stripped. Well, you left the door open a bit to get it down to 6 if that 3 had sat down, but it did not.
Well, no quit right now in the George Washington Colonials. They want their season to continue. Terrific steal and an opportunity for a 3.
Monroe too strong. Paul got a rebound. Thompson another shot at it. That's 3 threes that have leaked away on them here inside 30 seconds of play. And a foul call.
There is a tremendous battle going on inside the lane. There were 4 Colonials, 4 blue jerseys, 3 white jerseys, and these guys were just battling for that rebound. I mean, you're looking at a very good rebounding team in the Musketeers and an up-and-coming rebounding team in the George Washington Colonials.
One more try coming for Thad Mata's squad. Chance to make it a 10-point game again, and I think one step closer to salting this one away here in the closing moments. We told you that the key number to keep an eye on was 70, John. Xavier just scored their 70th point. Ten-point lead for the Xavier Musketeers with 1:12 left to go here at UD Arena. Musketeers, the number 10 team in the country, trying for their 16th win in a row. Karl Hobbs and the George Washington Colonials, the number 5 seed in the West, got within 3 points here in the second half. But too much David West, the conference player of the year. 26 points, 11 boards today. Scott Graham and John Griffin here in the closing moments of this ball game.
Well, Chris Monroe has tried to carry this team. He has 15 points so far. But really, as you mentioned, Scott, not enough to offset the tremendous effort of David West.
All-time leading scorer at George Washington. Probably not the way he wanted to go out as a senior in the final game of his career. But that's what it's looking like right now as the Musketeers have their sights set on the longest win streak in school history. 1 minute to go. And Monroe gets it back down to a 7-point game. George Washington is out of timeouts. They don't have the opportunity to set up the pressure. Musketeers break it. Hobbs Mensah-Bonsu with the foul, and he just fouled out of the ballgame now with 50 seconds left to go.
Karl Hobbs is going to do everything possible to lengthen this game with only 50 seconds to go. And Again, here's a good look at active hands on the part of the Colonials to come up with this steal, and Chris Monroe is just so powerful going to the basket. Has scored over 2,000 points, leading scorer in the history of George Washington basketball.
Mensah-Bonsu fouls out with 9 points and 10 rebounds on the game. He was a very big factor in the opening moments as George Washington jumped out to a 9-2 lead in this one. The Musketeers, who have been on this win streak but have had some close calls, John. Thad Matta's team, before their last game, had 2 games that went 1 point, 2 games that went overtime in the process of winning these 15 in a row. This one got close, but never quite that close.
Most of the games have been by double digits, but you're right, Scott. In the last 5, a number of them have gone into the overtime, and it's certainly a sign of a terrific team when you can win the close ones. We saw a great one about a week and a half ago in Philadelphia against St. Joseph's that went into overtime.
Tough team, battle-tested, NCAA tournament tested, and undoubtedly they are headed back there again as Angelo Smith comes into the ball game this closing minute. There's Karl Hobbs wishing some luck to Romain Sato.
What's interesting, Karl Hobbs said that Romain Sato is such a good guy that when his team beats you, he comes up to you after the game and said, "I'm really sorry we dropped you like that."
Well, the Colonials bringing it across. A couple of final moments here in the George Washington career for Monroe. He said before the game he's just about an automatic 20. That's 19 for him now in the ball game. And the foul is going to send West to the line now with 39.6 left to go.
Well, stranger things have happened. Unfortunately, you have a guy like David West going to the foul line. He's such a solid free throw shooter at over 80%. So if you're going to try to make a comeback in your George Washington, you have to find a guy in the lineup who's going to miss some free throws, and David West is not the likely candidate.
But Thad Matta, the thing about West more than anything else, though, in this year is we found out there is literally nothing this guy can't do on the floor. He's got a longer range jump shot. He can handle the basketball. He can pass off with the basketball. He's got all the tools. Thompson missing on the little scoop shot. Colonials would like a dime for everyone they've missed in close here in this final 20 minutes of play. We might have a different game.
Colonials have just been so close, particularly going to the basket. There seems sometimes almost a lid on that rim because they've had so many shots just roll around the iron.
So it'll be Omar Williams, yet another freshman for this George Washington team, at the line now. Trying to keep them within striking distance. The Colonials have not shot free throws well today. Karl Hobbs' team just 15 out of 24 from the line. One out of 2. And he made both. He got a 2-possession game. As it is, it's now 3. And GW, without benefit of a timeout, has to foul quickly. Once again, Xavier will try to put this game away at the free throw line. This has been a tough one right down to the wire, but it is just the beginning. Coming up in quarterfinal action, the Richmond Spiders going up against the Temple Owls in the second game of the afternoon session. And the next doubleheader session tonight at 7, the quarterfinals, LaSalle and number 25 St. Joseph's, Rhode Island against number 22 Dayton. All of that still coming up before the day is done here on the Atlantic 10 Television Network.
Here's a good look at Thad Matta. What a terrific job he has done this season. He did not get selected as Coach of the Year, but is certainly a very strong candidate. You know, and it's not an easy thing to be predicted to finish first in the conference. He was certainly the coach's choice to finish first, and he delivered. And so many teams, when they're kind of predicted in the preseason to win the conference, aren't able to do it. And he has done it, certainly a great job in his second year at the Musketeers.
Now, one thing to keep in mind as you watch this Xavier team put the finishing touches on what's going to be, it would appear, the win in the quarterfinals. This team was 15-1 in the Atlantic 10, the best A10 record since UMass in 1996 went to the Final Four. And now another quick foul in a 6-point game. The door's still slightly open after Monroe stroked home that 3.
What's interesting how coaches decide to play the last 30 seconds or so. Monroe takes a deep shot off balance, knocks down the 3. And had he not made that shot, I'm sure that Karl Hobbs would not be fouling at this point. But 20 seconds to go, 6-point deficit. Let's take one more crack at it.
And now the door stays just a little bit open. Chris Monroe passing Joe Holub for the all-time leading scoring title. That happened in the game against UMass, the Atlantic 10 tournament on Monday night. 22, including 18 in the second half here this afternoon. GW needs at least one more big shot to keep this alive. And they got it. It's a 2-point jumper for Jazz Cowan. And with 11.2 to go, it's back to the free throw line. They're doing everything they can to keep this going, but the Colonials are running out of time.
Yeah, it just seems like the Colonials are running out of time. A valiant effort on the part of Karl Hobbs' team. He'll go into the locker room, assuming that his team does not win this game. And he's going to put it in perspective for these young guys as if, let's get ready starting tomorrow for next season. Let's get into the weight room. Let's start lifting weights. Let's start getting stronger. And remember this experience. He's got a great affection for his players and a terrific season for T.J. Thompson, the 5'10" sophomore from Germantown, Maryland.
A lot of emotion there. You said that this George Washington team was sky high. They came in here today with a lot of confidence, certainly nothing to lose, take their shot at the champ, and they made it a good shot here in the second half as they whittled a big deficit back down to 3. It turns out it appeared they couldn't get any closer here this afternoon with 11.2 seconds to go. Their season about to come to an end.
And interestingly, before the game, Karl Hobbs said his players were really looking forward to this game because they were so disappointed with that tip-in by David West when they lost the game at the Cintas Center about 2 weeks ago.
Ball too strong. And the tip-in is only going to change what the final score turns out to be. The Xavier Musketeers have won a school record 16 in a row for Thad Matta. And they advance here in the quarterfinals with a 78-73 win over George Washington. They beat the team record from 1987 and 88 under Pete Gillen. And now they share the record book at Xavier with no one. 16 in a row. David West leading the way with 27 points and 12 boards on the game. Romain Sato with 20 points and 8 rebounds. And once again, Thad Matta can rely on that very difficult to stop two-headed monster for the Musketeers. They did it again today.
What a great tradition he has continued with the Xavier Musketeers. You mentioned Pete Gillen, you mentioned Skip Prosser. Thad Matta doing all that only in his second year here with the Xavier Musketeers.
Two guys who fought against one another for 4 years, both on the first team all-conference team. They get to say a final goodbye and good luck as the Musketeers get themselves a victory here today and advance to the semifinals here tomorrow night. Stay tuned. Larry Rosen will be back with our post game in a moment.
Want to rearrange the living room, dust behind that chest?
We'll talk to David standing by. Mission. Did you accomplish it today?
Oh yeah, we set out to do what we were supposed to do. You know, we knew they were going to be tough and scrappy, but you know the guys just hung tough, man, and we pulled it out.
You never stop leading with this club, going to the young players, even late in the ball game, keeping your focus. This was a long one. It stretched out, yet you stayed on top of your mates.
Well, you know, this basketball game is going to be a 40-minute game. It's not going to be 1 in 10 minutes or 15-minute stretches. We know we have to put together a 40-minute game, and you know it's good for the young guys to get this exposure and the experience. But you know you got to stay on and make sure that you know doing what they're supposed to.
Showing me your handle behind the back, between the legs, some press break. You're doing it all now, huh?
Oh yeah, you know, I do whatever my team needs, man. The guys, you know, we're having a little problems there earlier with the press, so coaches told me to kind of break the ball and break the pressure a little bit. So.
Well, congratulations. That's David West. He's got one in the bag. We will bring in his teammate, Romain Sato. Romain is a man of few words generally, from the Central African Republic to this kind of thing. Has this really turned out the way you had hoped it would when you got to the University of Xavier?
Yeah, I think so. You know, now we have a good team, and I think a lot of things turned better for me, and especially for the team, for the Xavier program. It's just good now.
You took the challenge of Chris Monroe. So marvelous matchup. You're so long, lean, athletic, and quick. He's so strong and powerful and stocky. What'd you do to try to hold him in check?
You know, he's a good player. He's a leading scorer in the league. So I just trying to do the best I can to keep him in front, because, you know, you draw every time he cuts. It's tough matchup, but I just trying to do my best to help my teammate win the game. That's it.
When near the end of the game, when it was pretty much in the bag, we saw you go over, and Coach Hobbs had some nice words and some smiling faces. Can you share what that was about?
You know, he's a very nice coach. So after the game, I always talk to him like this, and even if he saw me, he always come talk to me. So he's a very nice coach. I always, like, after the game, I come talk to him. It's just good talk, you know. So that's it.
How do you spend the next 18 hours or so? Are you back in rhythm, go to sleep, or do you care about watching the next game?
I think, you know, we got to play against a couple of teams tomorrow here, so they're playing now. So probably watch a little bit, go back and get rest for tomorrow, you know.
Congratulations, the #1 seeds have held serve.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's Romain Sato. Romain Sato, David West combining for 47 points, doing everything they've done throughout the entire course of this basketball season. Now they're doing it in championship style here in round 1, the quarterfinals. Game #1 is in the books, and Xavier has held serve. Game #2 comes up next, but first, more conversation about the Xavier Musketeers win from Scott and John next.
Game 1 is in the books. And the #1 seed, the Xavier University Musketeers, have walked out of here with a win, a very hard-fought win over the Colonials of George Washington. And we told you at the very beginning it was about David West, right? Well, it continues to be about David West. Anybody that's got a bobblehead named after him or made after him, you got to figure that he's got a pretty significant part in things, and he was a dominant force in that game.
And he's a happy David West. Look at him. He's smiling. The game's over. He did what he had to do. He took care of business in a very big way, scoring and rebounding the basketball. He was just everything that we promised.
And you take a look inside. This is the type of game that makes him so dangerous, because you collapse around him, John, he passes the ball off.
Well, he's just so unselfish. He gets as much enjoyment about his teammates scoring as he does on his own. And his baskets are tough baskets.
The A10 West. Xavier